You know a lot about Arabic era astrology in your background as an academic who pursued a PhD in it. And your dissertation actually just came to CAELi, so that's awesome.
Oh my
Thank you for
gosh,
sending
that's
us a
so
copy.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that it made it there. I had I went backpacking after I graduated from Evergreen, and I rode a boat from Athens to Alexandria, Egypt, and got off the boat. And I was 20 years old and just was like, oh, I have to start learning this language. I have to start learning the numbers and learning the letters. And there was some inexplicable pull to that part of the world. And then when I found myself back in New York City and got myself back in school, I found out I could take this language. And I'm like, oh, obviously, this is the thing I'm going to do. And I had a academic advisor named George Saliba who encouraged me and said that the history of astrology was very important.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was able to do a dissertation. So obviously, one of the books that influenced me the most was this manuscript that I ended up working with and translating in part.
What's the name of it?
It's a commentary on Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos by Ali Ibn Ridwan, who was a very irascible man and a very colorful man who was fighting for his life, I would say. He was working for a very scary caliph named Al-Hakim, who was famous for killing people, sometimes just while walking down the street. And so you didn't want to piss him off. And he
Yeah.
was his court physician and astrologer. So he was very competitive with other astrologers and doctors, and he picked fights with people. And some of these are preserved in manuscript form, and they're very, very
So if you were going to take the three most precious books with you into some remote place, what would you bring with you?
wow. Okay, so when I thought about this, it was kind of hard to it was like I was feeling the force of some books that sort of don't exist, but that I have a lot of books that are clustered around them. So these are books that I wish existed. And the first one would be the book on astrology written by Carl Jung had he not been embarrassed to talk about it, because we know that astrology was very meaningful to Jung and that he used it in his practice and in the final decades of his work with clients. He always did the charts.
I wonder if it would be illustrated the way that he did the Red Book as well, because of his focus on the mandala and that kind of engagement in a para-linguistic way, not just
Yeah,
language, but also
yeah,
the image and symbol together with perhaps language.
totally. And that was part of his approach to remediation with clients, was to have them do art. Behind me are all my sand tray figures. So they're arranged by planet on shelves. But these are little figures like here's my Neptune, some of my Neptune figures that I'm holding up. And for those of you on audio, I have like a washing machine and a mermaid and a doctor and a patient and a movie screen and a bunch of
And some
wine.
wine.
Yeah. So this is a tray I am using with a client who has a whole lot of Neptune. So how can we remediate by doing art, by working with the dreams, by looking at synchronicity? So I think there's a whole lot for astrologers to, and this is not new for astrologers to work with Jungian techniques. But I'm interested in how we heal or how we get more conscious.
Okay, so what's your
Yeah.
second pick?
Second book, it would be the unwritten book books by Robert Schmidt. So I've been sort of contending and wrestling and arguing with Robert Schmidt in my head since the mid 90s when I was a young person in my 20s and showed up at a Project Hindsight conclave and had my mind summarily blown. And I was, Ellen and Robert were very, very kind to me. And I was not able to be there a lot because I was really, really poor and really, really busy in grad school. And I also got irritated because I felt like this was important material, but that Schmidt had a very tight Neptune Mercury square. And I think that there were things he was dead set on communicating. And yet, even now, here we are with this total lack of books. The stuff is in some hard to access audio form. We can't search it. I feel like nevertheless, th- that we need to contend with a lot of what he was trying to share and trying to say. And you can kind of divide it into different categories. There was like, here's the stuff that we need to know from philosophy, and wonderful primers on how people thought about time. Not that I've been through it all, but like this is the stuff that I've wrestled with, particularly since work on time.
Yeah. There's a binder in the library at CAELi that was given to me in the library of Cynthia Schmidt, who you might have met at some point over the years, involved with all of the things that were going on in Project Hindsight. And it says Schmidt on Valens. And inside it is an entire binder of zodiacal releasing discussion that I've never seen anywhere else. And on the first page of it, Schmidt has this really nasty letter saying, "Don't teach this because this is how I make my money." And I'm thinking to myself, that is so not in the spirit of academic inquiry. You
Oh,
know,
and
let other
all the whole subscription model, and it still continues. And,
yeah.
there are problems. And he did talk about how he tested that technique and how incredibly accurate it was.
So, okay, third book?
Okay. I'm going to say, I'm holding up a giant coffee table book here. It's called Praga Mysteriosa. And this is an incredible book about the way the physical city of Prague is laid out in Zodiac form. So this is the physical city, and its axes date back to prehistoric um, Acropolis. That was where the summer solstice, the sun would set on the summer solstice. And now, if you go to Prague on the summer solstice, you stand on the Charles Bridge, you will see the sunset directly over St. Vitus's Cathedral. So this is all, medieval Charles IV, when Prague was the capital of the Holy Roman Empire, and you had all these mystical alchemical emperors, and Kepler was walking the streets. The city was laid out according to a zodiac. And my friend, Michael Marischka, who is an astrologer in Prague, is writing, again, this is books that don't yet exist, but he's soon to release some incredible series of books about the Prague Zodiac. And you can actually go there and walk your chart. So this comes back to this idea of the psychoid and spirit in matter. So when I first met Michael, I was interested in his work, and I scheduled an appointment with him, and we met in a cafe in Prague. And he said, okay, I want you to know that right now we are sitting at 29 degrees of Virgo. Guess what my sun degree is?
Oh, it is not.
It's 29 degrees of Virgo. So there's just these, and then we went on this walk through the Prague Zodiac. He's like, we're walking through Taurus. We're at 14 degrees of Taurus.